Coach, good morning. I was talking with you yesterday. I was a little curious. Hey, is 8 a.m. too early? Is that? I know you're not doing as much now, but you told me you get up every morning and walk at 6 a.m.
I walk every morning at 6. 2 miles every morning.
Man, I hope I can.
I've been doing that for 20 years now.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you making some time for us this morning. I was talking with Clay. Clay called me yesterday, and we were just kind of discussing what we were going to talk about this morning. One of the things he mentioned is just your prowess as a special teams coach. I mean, you think about
what now?
Just your coaching ability when it comes to special teams, particular kickers. Coach, how excited were you to see Arkansas hire a special teams coordinator this season?
Well, special teams is extra duty for most players. I mean, other than the kickers and snappers, I mean, the rest of them are players. So it's a great honor for me to have them when I was coaching, to have guys that wanted to be on there and were willing to be on the kicking team.
Coach, it's this is Clay, and
Clay,
go back and
doing?
think about. I'm doing fine, Coach. So I appreciate you taking a break from your golf to visit.
Oh, that's no problem. It's a little wet this morning, anyway.
Yeah, you got to kind of usher in the soccer players as kickers, and what did that entail in learning?
Little was the first soccer kicker we had. McClard, when I went there, Bill McClard was a kicker, and he was a straight on kicker, and then Little was recruited right after that, and then from then on, I guess Steve Cox was a straight on kicker. Most of them were soccer kickers from then on. And the reason, Clay, is soccer's got, you kick with your instep, and you got a lot more space than you do at the end of your toes when you're kicking as a straight-on kicker. So you have a little more leeway to make an error and still kick the ball through, really. I don't know if I'm making sense or not.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, you always make sense when you talk about kicking, Coach. You're the guru. And I use that word with all sincerity that you are the guy. And when I see something that's not right in the kicking, whether it's the way the punter's dropping the ball, I call you, and you can confirm that, right? I have called through the years.
Right.
The what do you watch when you're and I know you critique them when you're watching on TV or you're in the stadium. What's the telltale sign for whether a guy's going to be accurate in his kicking or not?
Most of the time, Clay, if I'm watching, unless I'm just half watching, but if I'm really paying attention, I'll watch his plant foot. Because your plant foot, it needs to be pointed right at the middle of the up goal post on a place kicker. I mean, if I'm a right-footed kicker, my left foot needs to be pointed right at the middle of the goal post. And that's why I always tell them, you set the tee where it's at an angle where you're parallel, your plant foot is parallel with the tee. I mean, these are just little things you go over, and you don't talk about that in a game, but I mean, that's things that you go over and practice and watch, that I watched for when I was coaching kickers. Because your ball is going to go where that plant foot's aimed about 95% of the time, maybe 98% of the time. So the plant foot is really the big item, and that's not all of it, but I mean, if it's not right, lined up right, you're not going to hit the thing right properly.
Coach Ken Turner with us here on the Morning Rush, former Arkansas assistant, Henderson State AD, newest member of the Arkansas Hall of Honor. Coach, you got a chance to coach under Coach Broyles, Coach Holtz. I'm wondering about the transition. What was that like? And I know Frank Broyles is the most revered coach esteemed member of the Arkansas Athletic Department that's ever come through. What was that transition like for you and the other assistants going from Coach Broyles to Coach Holt?
Well, one thing with Coach Holt, he was really tough on kickers. So you'd have to kind of smooth things over sometime with him, because he'd jump on them every now and then. And Coach Broyles, he never did say much ever to a kicker, I don't think, but he knew how important the kicking game was, though. I mean, that was one of his great deals in coaching. I mean, he really emphasized the kicking game, because I know he was about the only coach that really let you use first-team defensive players to cover punts and stuff. I mean, and the other coaches didn't even allow you to put one of them on a punt team.
Coach, you've coached Kendall Trainer, you've coached Steve Little, you've coached Is Ordonez. Coach, is there a kicker or a special teams player at Arkansas that stands out to you amongst the rest?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said. Now, is there a kicker or what?
Yes, Coach, is there a kicker or special teams player? I mean, you coach some All-Americans, you coach some great players. Is there one that stands out to you amongst the rest?
Well, really, Cox and Little had the strongest legs. Now, Cox was a straight-on kicker, and Little was a first soccer kicker. In fact, Little taught me all about soccer kicking. He was, I mean, because I didn't know anything about it when he came. But you know, I don't know. Little and Cox had the strongest legs of any of them. Ordonez was really accurate. That he didn't have a very strong. He didn't even kick off for us. I mean, he was really accurate from about 40 yards in. He was real accurate, and you know, Trainer was really. I mean, he wound up kicking 20-something in a row. I think 24 in a row my last year there with him. It's just, I don't know. You know, it's kind of hard to say. Each one of them kind of different, got a little different personality, and you know, you got to deal with that. Some kickers you can jump on, some you can't say a word to, crossword. And it's just, you know, you got to know that fine line if you're coaching them.
Coach, in talking with these kickers and talking about you, they said you were pretty tough on them. You put them through practices. Why. Yeah.
Well, here's why. You take a kicker, he's over there on that sideline, and all of a sudden he's got to go out there in front of 70,000 people to win a game or lose a game. So I was tough on them in practice, trying to get them where the game situation wasn't any tougher. I mean, they didn't know that at the time, but I mean, that was what my thing, to be hard on them. And I had this theory about coaching kickers. Don't ever kick one unless you're trying to make it. And because a lot of times kickers get out there and mess around in practice, and I just had to. If I saw them, I want them to, every time they kicked it, to try to make the thing. I don't care if you're practicing or what, but it's unless you're just out there kicking up and down the field. But it's just, you know, the pressure on the kicker is tremendous. Because I mean, it's like I used to tell them. You're the only guy that everybody in the stadium, everybody watching on TV knows when you mess up. Because it's obvious, you know. You expect a passer to throw an interception or throw an incomplete pass or a receiver to drop one, but they don't expect a kicker to miss. That was the way I coached them anyway. I
mean, you went over Kendall Trainer, you know, the way he finished his career, but I guess at Ole Miss, you and Coach Hatfield were pretty close to benching him at halftime.
Coach Hatfield was, for sure. And I was mad at him, you know. Hey, Yeah, this is really funny, and this is the truth. So I go in the dressing room, and he's over there talking to Alan Meacham, who was a punter in hell for Kendall, and he was saying this and that, and I just hear it part. I go over, I tell him, I said, I don't want to hear any excuses. You just choked, you missed the daggum thing, and that's it. And then that's the last one he missed that year. You know, he kicked 20-something in a row, I think.
It was pretty incredible,
like
yeah.
Right.
And they went right down the middle, too, didn't they, Coach?
Right, most all of them. You're exactly right. But he was making all kind of excuses, and I was upset with him anyway for missing a little old chip shot field goal right before halftime.
Coach, when
coaching
when you
kickers,
came,
they're a little different than coaching players. Because one thing that happens with kickers, well, they got one shot, and everybody knows if they do good or bad play, and it's a tough deal for them.
Coach, when you came to Arkansas and Coach Broyles put you on the staff, did he ask you to take kickers, or did you want to take kickers, and was that in your background?
Well, let me tell you what happened. When I went to Arkansas as a GA and coached a freshman, that's when they had a freshman team play, and I coached a freshman offensive line, and Mervyn Johnson was the offensive line coach for the varsity. And because then freshmen couldn't play. We played a freshman schedule back at that time. And anyway, so I'd go out there after practice with Merv. After we got into the season, I'd go out there with him when he's coaching the kickers, because I was, helping with the offensive line. And I was actually coaching scout team, but I was helping him coach the offensive lines. And anyway, so after about, half a year, 2/3 of a year, it wound up me and the kickers most of the time. And then when Merv left, Coach Broyles hired me full time. Then I wound up just coaching the kickers. That's kind of the way it kind of just happened. It wasn't any. It seemed like I just kept doing it after he left. Clay, because you didn't get anything extra for coaching kickers.
Yeah, well, you're getting it now. You're going into these halls, Coach, and there's no one that's coached kickers better in college football. When you look at your guys through the years, it is incredible. The way your kickers responded in clutch situations and won games, and it's a big part of why Arkansas won championships and so consistent through those years, Coach.
You're kind. I always say good recruiting, and Clay, I was really hard on them in practice. More than any other player I ever coached, kickers. But I just tell them, every time you kick it, you try to make it. I don't ever want you to kick one just nonchalant, not trying to make it. And I don't know, maybe it had an effect on them. I don't know. And then once you get a great kicker, it's a lot easier to recruit the next one, Clay. That makes it, recruiting a lot easier. But after, McLaurin and Little, then it started to be a lot easier to recruit them.
Well, Coach, we really appreciate your time this morning. Coach Ken Turner, former Arkansas assistant, former Henderson State athletic director, and one of the newest members of the Arkansas Hall of Honor in 2020. Coach, again, we really appreciate it.
It's unbelievable for me that I could be in the U of A's Hall of Honor, Clay. That's just when I grew up, as a youngster in eastern Arkansas and listened to the Razorbacks, I never thought I'd be associated with them, but it's just the good Lord bless me. That's all I can say.
Thanks, Coach.
I was fortunate to be there.
Coach, thanks for your time.
And, Clay, I wouldn't probably ever been at Arkansas, but I had a real good running back at West Memphis that everybody in the world recruited. And that's kind of how I wound up. Coach Horton had just gone up there up in Far City, and he was recruiting Terry McFarland, who it was, and I just kind of got to talking to him, and that's why I went up there as a GA, hoping really to get me a head coaching job in Texas, where they paid a lot more money in the high schools then than Arkansas did. And then I was there. Coach Broyle talked me into staying the second year, and then I was walking down the hall up in Barnhill one day and met him, and he said, "Go in there and see my secretary. I'm going to put you on my staff," and kept walking. So that's how I got hired. That's true. I mean, that's a true story.
You sent him some good players from Eudora, too, Coach. Cliff Powell, Jimmy Fryer, and David Howard.
Yeah, they were really good. Cliff was a sophomore my last year there, but he weighed 150 pounds. But he had knocked your eyes out then. I didn't know he'd ever get big enough. I mean, after I went to West Memphis, of course, I kept up with him. But hey, he was when he was even 130-pound ninth grade linebacker, he had knocked your eyes out then. But he was a great player and a real smart player too.
Coach, great stories this morning. We really appreciate your time. So good stuff from Coach Ken Turner.
Hey, and thank you. I had a great career, and the good Lord bless me.
Yes.
Thank you for calling. Bye-bye.
Yes, sir. See you later. So good stuff from Coach Ken Turner. I think, again, we overlook special teams a lot when it comes to great Arkansas football teams. Clay, you mentioned little Train Ordonez. I mean, there are so many great players that he coached.
Cox, Leahy, yeah.
Keep going and
just
going.
Goes on. Yep, it's just, and like you said, you recruit one, it makes it easier to recruit the other because they see that you're going to be successful. And, this is something people don't know. We're kind of, my wife considers Coach Turner family. Her dad coached for him at Eudora and then became head coach at Eudora when Ken Turner left and went to West Memphis, and then got to coach those guys that he just talked about. Cliff Powell is the all-time greatest linebacker at Arkansas, and Jimmy Fryer won the state decathlon, played defensive end at Arkansas. So it's we've known each other. Really, my whole life I've known Coach Turner and admire him as a coach and a person and as a father.
Part of a great class going into the Hall of Honor at the University of Arkansas. So glad we could spend some time and reminisce, and probably all learned a little bit about kicking and coaching kickers this morning as well.